Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening, man. Just so happy to be back again with another episode from the Conversation 9-8. And again, happy to be on here and looking forward to the conversation today. Um, just on the day, on the weekly grind. So, man, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope all is well with you. And looking forward to just having this conversation tonight. No, nothing special. Uh, I'm in a season of transition myself, so I just look forward to looking forward to the change, looking forward to something new, and just excited about the new beginning, the next chapter. I think that's something that we all should embrace, and it's going to be a little bit talking about a little bit what we're going to talk about tonight too. So I just thank you guys so much for your continued support, and I hope you guys are all is well. And with all that being said, man, we're just going to jump right on to it, into the conversation for tonight. And shout out to my mom. Shout out to my mom, and I appreciate her. Shout out to my kids, family. Shout out to everybody. And I hope you guys know that you mean the world to me. Um, and it means a lot. And I'm going to talk a little bit about something that was on my heart earlier today. But with all that said and done, man, I appreciate everybody for rocking with your boy and going with your boy with episode 184. We've been doing these things for a while now, so we're gonna go ahead on and keep it going. Ain't no need to stop now. But tonight we're gonna talk about what do you do when the things don't go the way you planned them to go? What do you do when the things don't go the way you planned them to go? And I know that's something that is hard for a lot of us to talk about. And it's hard for a lot of us to really deal with in the moment, because it's easy to have a plan about or have an ideal about what we want to do and an ideal about how we want things to go aligning to our plans. But things don't always go that way. There are going to be times in life where you don't get what you feel like you deserve. You don't get like how other people may see you is not what indicative to the things that or the true value that you did at that moment. And it can be disheartening. But the thing about it is you have to also understand that everything is not going to go how you want it to go, but that doesn't mean that that's always a bad thing. And that's the God honest truth. And I say that again, everything will not go the way that you want it to go, but that does not mean that it's always a bad thing. So I want you guys to really understand that and understand that that's not always a bad thing. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow because it's not fun. It's not easy. You know, that's not exciting to when things don't go your way, you know. But one of the things you have to think about is when things don't go your way or they don't go the way that you plan them to go. It's not always a bad thing. Many times what I've learned to seek whatever the lesson is in that moment. You know, that's when the Bible says in the book of James, count it all joy when you face various trials and tribulations. Well, what do you mean about being happy about it? And that comes with a level of maturity and experience where you understand that, hey, everything is not going to always go as you plan. But if you really embrace it and seek the lessons learned in it, there's value in growing from those moments. And the value in growing from those moments comes when you seek the true meaning, like, okay, what is it in this moment? Okay, let me assess why it didn't go the way what I planned, or it may not align to what I wanted, but what can I learn from this situation? And sometimes those situations are very humbling. They're very humbling. It gets frustrated. But if you embrace and learn from those, you will grow from it. You will grow from it. I promise you, you'll grow from it. And this is something that, because we tell people, and there's nothing wrong with it. In the Bible, it said, we talk about writing the vision and make it plain so people can understand the vision and people can work towards a goal. People can work towards that vision or that goal that they have. And I'm not telling you not to do it. But what I am speaking on is what happens when it doesn't go as you planned it to go, when you don't get the results that you wanted to get, when the results that you get is something that's disappointing to you, something that is disheartening to you, or when you have to face something where, you feel like you deserve something, or you feel like you've earned something that is not given to you. What do you do in those moments? Do you sulk? Do you pout? Do you have a pity party? Or do you look at it from, hey, what am I supposed to get out of this? Because a lot of things about it is a lot of people spend so much time, energy, and effort trying to control stuff that they really don't have no control over. So just embrace and learn from it and grow from it. And I'm not suggesting for you to not fight for what is yours. I'm not suggesting for you to lay down. That's not what I'm saying. What I am speaking about is the simple question of what do you do when things don't go the way you planned them to go? Now, one thing about it is one thing that I've learned more than anything is, when things done, that many times in my life, there are things that hasn't gone the way that I planned them to go, and it hasn't aligned to the things that I planned them to go. But the funny thing is, the Bible says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. The Bible also says promotion comes from God, and the Bible talks about a lot of different things. But we get in our minds, we get our goals, we get our vision, we get a lot of things in our minds set up of how we want things to be and our own desires, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what do you do when it doesn't go as what you plan? What do you do when you have to deal with that disappointment? What do you do when you have to deal with that frustration or that letdown? What do you do? And that's what I'm talking about. Being resilient in those moments, to be able to do a self-assessment, be self-aware enough to look internal, to look at yourself, to look at the situation and say, what can I learn from this? Because many times that disappointment is a setup for a blessing. It is. A disappointment is a setup for a blessing. It's a setup for the new beginning or something different. And, one thing, it's hard. It can be very hard when you try to work or go and achieve your goals and your vision, and you're passionate about something and you put everything into it, and it doesn't come back with the results that you was looking for. And a lot of times in that moment, what will happen is you'll begin to question, dang, why am I doing all of this? I'm not getting the quote unquote credit that I deserve from it. But then what I've learned in that moment, in that space, is it's not always about you getting the credit. It's not always about you getting the credit. Many times it's about you doing the job and you leaving an impact and you having an influence. I'm not saying that you're not going to get it on the other side, because many times our blessings is set up for us to serve in those disappointments. Sometimes we have to serve through that disappointment so that we can appreciate the elevation that God is going to elevate us to on the other side. We have to do that. And that's not all. This is not the easy thing. Like, this is the stuff that when we start talking about faith and when we start talking about living this thing, or when we start talking about growth and maturity, this is the type of stuff that people do not like having those conversations about, because these type of conversations cause us to look inward, cause us to deal with ourselves. It causes us to address ourselves in ways that we may not want to address it. Now, this is one thing that's a hard pill to swallow for many people. It's a very hard pill to swallow for many people. But hey, it is what it is. But sometimes it may not go as you plan because your plan doesn't align with God's will. And no matter how much time, energy, and effort that you put into working your plan, and your plan, I'm not saying your plan is bad, but what I am saying is sometimes it is not about things going the way that you plan, because your timeline may not be aligned with what God's timeline is for you. So sometimes we take those no's, or we take those disappointments and we take it personal, and it's not personal. It is just not part of God's timing for us right then. And yes, you can advocate for a lot of different things. You can do all of these things. You can try to fight this. But the problem is when we fight all of that, we're just wasting time and energy. And what happens is we'll find ourselves frustrated and continually get frustrated until we pull ourselves back look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, God, not my will, but your will be done. Mama said, Elijah, Job, Joseph, and Moses can attest to what you're discussing. And the reality is with all of them, Mom, and I appreciate your comment, with all of those, even throughout, like we can look in the Bible, there's so many things where people can have plans and plans don't go the way that they go. Like, it is a known fact, but throughout our lives, there will be many things that would not go according to what we plan them to go. They just won't be. It just won't be. And with those things, we will be disappointed. We'll be let down. There'll be coming a lot of frustrations. And some of those things, it'll be even more frustrating for us because of what it's all of the things that's connected to that. You know, because some of the things you can see it's layered, and we can see how the domino effect of how things happen based off of what somebody else may have done to us, or somebody else may have done to set those conditions up for us. And sometimes it feel like we have to bear the brunt of that, or the blunt of that. And sometimes we do. But the reality is it's up to us to stand strong. It's up to us to look in the mirror. It's up to us to do a self-reflection so that what we can do is we can control what we get out of that situation. We have to look at it on what can we get out of that situation. And those situations are humbling experiences. They are. They are humbling experiences. They're experiences that many of us don't like to take. They're experiences that many of us don't want to go through. And I get it. I understand that. I'm not denying it. Not denying that at all. But I am speaking towards it because this is something that I feel that it's necessary to have that conversation. You know, one thing about it is I've learned that we live in a world where everything is so self-centered. Everything is about self, like self. Everything, majority of people, what they do is it's about things being self-serving, things serving themselves. And when we start talking about selflessness, it's hard to be selfless. It's hard to be selfless in the world that we have structured today, because you will always feel in a lot of ways like you're losing. But what I've learned in those situations where I feel like that was a loss, it really was a setup for a win. But the problem is sometimes we stay stuck in the feeling of defeat when we don't sit there and be self-aware enough and look at the situation so that not only we can learn from it, but we can grow from it. And when I've grown and learned and accept those situations, what I've grown from it, it just took me to a whole nother level that I wouldn't have gotten to if I didn't experience that. So don't run away from it. Embrace it. Seriously, don't run away from it. Embrace it. You know, what do you do when things don't go the way you plan them to go? That's a question. That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. What do you do? You know, do you run? You know, it's so easy to play the role of a victim when things don't go to what we plan. It's so easy to play that role of a victim. It is. It's easy to play that role. It's easy to embrace that role. It's easy to embody that role because it's a natural inclination for us to do. But when things don't go the way that you go, are you deliberate of doing a self-assessment and looking at yourself? You know, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You know, you can't control certain things. Only thing you can do is do your part. And what I've learned is many times when you're dealing with things don't go as you plan. It is up to you. You are responsible for the level of integrity that you're going to walk in that situation. Nobody else is responsible for it. And despite how hard it gets, despite how easy it may feel, when you look back on it, you know, that you trying to justify anything that you do, it's still going to come back on your inability to be self-aware enough to walk in the level of integrity that you should have. And yeah, is it fun? Is it going to be fun? No, it's not. But these are the moments that I feel that, you know, we should be shouting hallelujah. We should be singing and dancing about, because in these moments, we grow. These are fertile grounds for massive growth. Mom said, our current society, we listen to WIIFM. What's in it for me? We need to seek God for guidance and start listening to what WIIFG. What's in it for God? And mom, that's a hard pill for a lot of people to do, because it's becoming, because of everything in our society being about self. It's hard for a lot of people to just sit down and humble themselves and say, hey, Lord, not my will, but your will be done. And, I just hope that, I hope and I pray that many of us, we find that space to where we're just not doing the things that we need to do, and just coasting. But besides that, one question that I was thinking about and I wanted to ask, how do you appreciate the people that you can depend on the most? How do you do that? Because that's a serious question. Do you appreciate the people that you can depend on the most? And I'm talking about not just appreciating and just saying it with lip service. Does it show up in your actions? Does it show up in your gestures? Does it show up in how you prioritize them? Because sadly, many people benefit from people. They benefit from people, a lot of people, but they don't show that level of appreciation for them. They take them for granted. They don't do things that they need to do for them. They always prioritize other things and other people over them. They have taken them for granted, and they don't even realize the damage that they're doing to the soul of the other person. Because one thing about it, it is very, very, very disappointing and very disheartening for you to sacrifice and be there for other people that don't even show a level of appreciation for you. So that's a question that I ask, and I hope that somebody can answer that, and you answer that on a personal level. But if you don't, if you struggling to find that, I pray that you are able to make it right and go to those people, the same people that you may take them for granted. And the sad thing is, not the sad thing, but the truth is, it's easy. Look, and I know people don't like to talk about it, but it's so easy to get to a space where you take people for granted, and especially those people that have always been there, been consistent. The same way it is so easy for us to take God for granted. In the same way God has always provided for us, God has always looked out for us, and we just take them for granted. And when we look at those things, and I look at the correlation of those things, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why am I taking this person for granted? Am I really appreciating the person, or am I really have a heart of appreciation for the people that do those things for me? Or have I allowed a feeling of entitlement, like I'm supposed to get it, to the point where I don't appreciate the sacrifice that was made for me to have it? And sadly, many people fall under, but the truth is, what we should do is we should always look at it and doing a self-assessment and figure out, am I truly valuing and appreciating the people that I benefit from the most? And if I am, good thing. But if I'm not, I just need to change my ways and start doing better. But man, I really appreciate you guys rocking with me tonight. One on here long. But again, the question I want to ask, what do you do when things don't go your way, go the way that you plan them to go? Because it's good to have a plan. And I want people to understand this. It is so good to have a plan. I highly recommend having a plan. And plans are always great. Plans are the way to go. But what do you do when things don't go the way you plan? Just like the infamous words of Mike Tyson when he said, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face. The same thing happened. What do you do when things don't go your way? What do you do when you metaphorically get punched in the face? Do you have the resolve to stand up? Do you have the resolve to get back on your feet? Do you have the resolve to do a self-assessment? And then do you have the resolve to get your bearing and then, okay, let me continue to go forward. Let me continue to go after it. Because sometimes just because it doesn't go as you plan, or you metaphorically get punched in the face, that's not time for you to quit. So don't quit. Don't quit. Self-assess and keep moving. Because sometimes just because you get punched, that don't mean you did something wrong. It just means you need to adjust. That's all that means. You just need to adjust. So make your adjustments, make your change your strategy, right? And continue to go on. Continue to go on. And don't allow one person or a few people opinion of you to put you to the point to where you don't feel like you are worthy. No, know your worth. Walk in it, continue to be the person that you are, right? But then be self-aware enough to address you so that you can overcome whatever it is that may be limiting you. It's because many times there are things that you have no control over. And the only thing you can do is do the things that you know you're supposed to do. Because many times you won't get the credit. Many times people won't value what you bring. But that doesn't mean that you wasn't an invaluable member of the team. Just think about it. There's a lot of factors that goes into a lot of things that we have no control over. The only thing you can control is what you do. So I hope you guys take that, own that, and continue to dominate your battle space, even though things didn't go the way that you planned them to go. So you guys have a great and wonderful evening. I appreciate you guys rocking with me tonight. I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful week. And, you know, this week is going to be a busy week for me, but I'm excited and I look forward to God doing whatever he does. And you guys have a great and blessed night. God bless.